Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name's Emily.
We are still watching Dracula the series because Emily picked it.
Yes, it's my fault. I apologize wholeheartedly.
I informed you of this series' existence, so it
Yes,
is.
you are partially
You
to
did not
blame,
pick it out of the blue. I am partially to blame. Yeah,
but
I
I
haven't
did.
canceled the podcast. I haven't quit. So
And you haven't quit yet. So, thank you.
okay.
Today we're talking about episode
So
15. My girlfriend's back and there's going to be trouble or something like that. 15. That means only 6 more to go. 6 more. 6 more. Remember, Andrew, you have a present at the end of this tunnel that is pretty cool. I'm going to have to bribe you.
It's a cameo from Max. And I'm going to be so angry.
I don't know if he's gone
you.
cameo because he's got a successful television show now. So award winning. I mean, in Canada, but award winning.
In Canada. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Canada, what are your 3 things?
So my 3 things are going to be edging. It's going to be they're in some Germanic country, right? And then comedy equals broken chair. I literally picked 3 incidents that I thought were hilarious. That's all I can talk about because this episode is a mess. There's so much going on, and I didn't have time to take notes.
So my first one will be indeed, that's a grown-ass Canadian woman. My second will be Jersey Casino. I was going to do what he called his daughter on Stern, but that was a little far. That was a little far for me to go. But okay. My other one will be, I don't know, bat origami.
Okay.
It should have been the chateau because there's a lot to talk about with that stupid fucking chateau.
Yeah. The chateau's weird. And it fits into they're filming in some Germanic country, right? Thing. Because there are
for the first time ever.
There's several references to, again, them being of Germanic people. But we start the episode in a very weird way, and this is part of my first point with Lucard's. You'll have to answer my question here. He's standing outside of a blood bank.
Yep.
Okay, and edging, I guess. Is this how vampires edge? They just watch people give blood. It was really weird. He wasn't quite licking his lips, but you could tell he had a boner under his chinos, it was really weird.
Really weird. And it has nothing to do with the episode. It's just a cold open where and it also makes no sense. I don't know, I guess maybe we'll get to it, but this show has, despite now being a serial, right? We've continued this same story the last 3 episodes, even though Sophie is entirely recovered at this point.
Yeah.
And has no discussion of being a vampire for 2 episodes. And we're not talking about Vincent, the deadbeat, the last pervo 20-something Canadian who was after a teenager on the show. But what is going on in this town? Is Dracula, is Lucard, who's never called Dracula, he could have, there's a scene where Gustav could be like, well, he's fucking Dracula.
Yeah.
But then instead he's like, it's hard to explain who he is.
And it's like, no, it's not. It's literally the easiest thing.
Easiest thing in the world. It's what your show's called, man. Okay.
Yeah.
But so Dracula's edging outside the blood bank, and some guy comes up and is like, hey, I'm part of the Citizens Patrol. There have been alarming attacks in our neighborhood. There would be alarming attacks in town all the time. Does Lucard feed in other towns? We don't know that because they don't want to talk about the town they're in because they're low budget and trashy. It's just cartoon logic in live action.
The town that they filmed in refused to let them use their name. So
they didn't have any permits for this. What are you talking about? This was pre-you.
So my favorite part of this is the guy's like, we're going to catch this killer and we're going to beat him up and blah, blah, blah. And Lucard's like, oh, well, I need to get back to my hotel or whatever he says. I don't even remember. Can you walk me there? They take 4 steps. They're still outside the fucking blood bank, just on the side of the building where it's dark. And he lifts him up and eats him. And it's like, can nobody hear this guy screaming? We just saw 30 people outside the blood bank. Nobody can hear this? This is insane.
Doesn't Luxembourg have a social safety net? Like, I don't feel like people in Luxembourg sell their blood as much as people in the US have to.
Well, no, but they're also caring and giving people. So maybe they're not selling it. They're just donating it because there's a tragedy. I don't know.
The tragedy is this show. Okay, and then the guy's like, yeah, it's my motto to show no mercy.
Yeah.
Dracula's like, that's my motto too. Waka waka.
And he bangs out, lifts the guy up, which I love. I always love that. Like, very obviously being pulled up by a crane. Yeah.
They really leaned into that this episode. Okay, and then I think it's credits.
And then it's credits.
And then here we go. It's Max and Sophie hanging out at home. Sophie's pissed off because Alexa, the girlfriend from back home, is there. And we discover that she is rich and she takes Chris to the pony games. And I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Me too.
The Phillies. They're going to the Phillies, to the Philadelphia Phillies ponies. Sophie has been ignoring Chris, both of them, this entire, because what's his face is wearing a jersey. Max is wearing a jersey for some of the episode. So presumably Sophie has been completely ignoring them the entire time.
And it doesn't make sense because she's got a crush on Chris, right? Or she's in love with Chris, like 15-year-olds are in love with each other. And she's not like leaning into his interests, right? Like it's so unrealistic. It's so unrealistic. Like if you were a teenage girl wanting to put the moves on a boy, you would be finding out about their interests, learning about them, asking them questions. That's just how you do it. You don't act like a fucking dummy or like you're too good.
Neither of them are interested in either of their interests, and they remind each other how little they're interested in each other's interests throughout this whole show as part of their flirting, apparently. Gustav comes in with the schnitzel.
Now, again, this is one of my things. It's like, wah, wah, wah. Remember, we're Germanic. Remember. Wah,
I think this is lunch.
Yes.
Because Sophie's going to get upset that Chris isn't going to take her for a bike ride later.
In the afternoon.
This show always has this problem. It had this problem with Mom that, like, they're having like a 4-course dinner and then they're like, well, it's only 10:30 in the morning. We have a whole day planned. Okay, so Chris and Alexa get back from his tour of the city, which is where I make the note. That is a grown-ass woman, followed by that is a grown-ass Canadian woman with her
accent is so strong. Yeah. She's dressed like an adult.
Yep.
She looks like a young adult.
Yep.
She sounds like a young Canadian adult.
Yep.
There's no, like, I don't want to say that there's a history of teenagers being played by adults, adult women, adult men as well. And it's been passable, but this is not passable. She does not pass for, I mean, that chick from 90210, Andrea or whatever, she passed for a teenager and she was like in her 30s. This woman is 22, 23 years old. She is an adult woman.
Let's not forget most of the people on 90210 were also in their 20s, though. So she didn't have. Chris is a kid. Sophie is a kid.
Yeah.
When they're going to talk about how she has moved to Europe with her dad.
Yeah.
To go to school. Yeah, to fucking college. She's going to college and she has a little 15-year-old boyfriend. Like, they're all showing off in their class. And she's like, well, I'm dating Chris. He's wonderful. He turned 16 in 11 and a half months.
So to be fair, for the storyline, she could just be going to a private school in Switzerland. Like, rich people send their kids to private schools in Switzerland. And that could very well be. But,
okay.
But Okay, take all of your pedophilia stuff aside. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm often taken by a pretty face. She is so beautiful. She is so stunning. If I were Sophie, I would be like, I'm out. Like, I'm out. I'm done.
That is what Sophie will do.
That
which means we will have to deal with this shit next episode again, probably. Okay. We get a thing about how Chris has been telling her about the history of the town, which surprises everyone.
Yeah.
And then he reveals that he's just been making it up. So now Sophie is in the background.
I wish that had somehow come back to where, like, it seems like something in Doctor Who where, like, somebody would be, like, full of fake facts and then run around trying to fix stuff with the doctor and then, like, have all of these fake facts that they're feeding to the doctor. Like, I think that would be really funny if it came back. But it doesn't.
Dracula the series is so bad it makes Chris Chibnall look like a fucking, I don't know, Aaron Sorkin or something. David Simon, no, yeah, it's hard to find a good AAA TV person right now, but
yeah,
whatever. Man, I guess I should be thinking of women, but are there any female showrunners on anything else? What? We're off track already, Emily. Stop.
Abbott Elementary.
Oh, yes. Oh,
and
God, yeah.
the whole Shondaverse.
Sorry, I'm trying to think of
I've not
Dracula
seen
this series compared
as a workplace comedy.
I can't stop. I can't stop. I'm having a heart attack. Yeah, Abbott Elementary is better than this. Okay,
I've not seen it.
That's very good. Anyway, just the thought of comparing the two. Could we get her on the podcast to talk about it? That'd be awesome. She was on Party Down. Okay, so Chris and Sophie talk. This is where we find out they're going to go for a bike ride.
Mm-hmm.
He tells Sophie that they are just friends and that there's nothing to be worried about, even though we don't get any more love talk this episode.
Yeah.
We just get they've been trying to date for a while and it never goes right. And it's like, how did it go wrong considering all the time you spent together the first 12 episodes?
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to take her sightseeing. Oh, this is where your chair is.
Yes. So Sophie, like a girl does, walks off in a huff, and Chris sits down in some chair that just crumbles underneath him. This was a great comedy moment in the midst of shit. And Gustav walks by and says, "Oh, I should get that fixed." I thought it was fucking hilarious. In the midst of just garbage, melodramatic, like bad Canadian melodrama. It was so funny. I wish they had, like, done something with it. Oh, well, whatever. Another thing that they could have done differently and better.
So then we cut to Lucard Industries. Now, this is an establishing shot of Lucard Industries through the town. And we also see that there is a guard outside of Lucard Industries, which I found incredibly amusing, given that for a while, Max just went in whenever he wanted.
Yeah.
They still go into the castle whenever they want.
Yeah.
But then we cut to Dracula in his office, and he's playing with bat origami, which is something. And he's been waiting for a meeting. And he's like, tells his receptionist, who we've never met, but I feel like should be a recurring character, that he's out. Keep the guy waiting if he ever gets here, just to screw with him, but I'm done waiting for this prick. In comes the prick.
Yeah. And his
name is Ted Singleton.
He's all blustery, businessman, rude American. Can I call you Al? Oh my God. Oh, I hate him. Another character that needs to die.
So he throws down a proposal and he says, "I'll be back in the morning to collect this with your signature. You don't have a choice. You have to sign this. You have to agree to my terms." And Lucard is confused.
Yeah.
So now we cut to the chateau that we have never seen before because the filming permits did not come through until now. But it is a chateau in the middle of town that everybody goes to, apparently. Chris and Alexa are talking about Sophie a little, and Chris says he likes her a lot. But then Alexa says I'll never forget the day we broke up. You told me if I ever needed you, you'd be there for me. And now I'm going to school near here I wrote down Lausanne, but I don't think that's what it was.
Lausanne. Lausanne. Lausanne, Switzerland.
Is that where they teach the pedophile women?
No, interestingly, that is where Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. Hi, everybody. This is Emily popping in to correct myself. Geneva, Switzerland is where Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. Honest mistake. Both on Lake Geneva. You know, it could happen to anyone. Anyway, back to the podcast.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, she was not very old when when Shelley went after her. Okay, so anyway, I mean, continuing the theme. But this is all pre-EU. I assume the EU has "don't be pervs" written into their constitution somewhere alongside you need to have USB-C. Hopefully. Mm-hmm. So Alexa wants to try again. And she's like, Chris is like, well, I like you a lot. And he's like, we're just really great friends. And she's like, well, yeah, but they're friends. And then there are friends. Am I right? And it's just like, you're 24 years old.
But she's playing a teenager.
They don't in your life that you are a 24-year-old Canadian woman. And you were like, yes, I want to make love to I want to come on to this kid stronger than Groucho comes on to Margaret Dumas. I just want to, oh, yes, this little 15-year-old. Oh, he's so hot. She will have a monologue about how hot he is.
Yeah.
In a bit.
Later.
But they're interrupted by Max and Sophie, seeing them from below, which requires a shot of Max and Sophie on the street, and then a shot up to the chateau, and then a shot out from inside the chateau. Alan Eastman, eat your heart out.
Like, yeah. Who is the director of this one?
I don't know. Martin Scorsese. Like
Jeff Woolnough.
Canadian Academy Award winner, no doubt. Okay.
He directed Battlestar Galactica. The new one.
The new one or the old one?
The 2004.
Well directed. That would be why he did.
And Vikings.
3 shots, and they were.
Which I've seen. I didn't watch it. Which I've seen one episode of. It's like, well, whatever. Don't need to get off track.
Okay. And not yet. We'll get off track with something else. We will indeed in a bit. So Max is trying to console Sophie a little, but not.
But he's a 10-year-old kid. I mean, it's funny. This episode, he becomes like the person everybody goes to for advice. And it's like, why are you asking your 10-year-old brother for advice on your 23-year-old girlfriend? Like, what is happening?
Also, Chris has an entirely different outfit this episode. Like, his wardrobe is totally different.
I didn't notice, I guess.
He's got on clubbing clothes. He has on like a print shirt.
That's loose.
Yeah.
At least it's not unbuttoned down to his fucking navel.
Well, no, because he's a child and he doesn't have any chest hair yet. Okay, so they're there to tell Alexa to go back and meet her dad at the house.
Yes.
To which my note is, Ted is going to be her dad. And Ted is her dad.
Yeah. But there's also this weird miscommunication where Chris is mad at Max because you're not supposed to bring Sophie for a walk.
That's later.
Okay.
That's later.
Good. Cut.
And it was also a different character. You're leaving that in. You're not paying attention during this show.
I'm not paying attention. I am, but I was so confused because there was so much going on.
Clearly, you're not the one writing the IMDb recaps secretly.
Oh my God. I started to notice the IMDb recaps and I was like, is Andrew doing this?
I can't pretend it's that good. Like, no. It's someone who this is their peak. I mean, like, more power to you, but there's a big wide world out there. Okay. Ted and Gustav.
Yes.
Ted is blathering on, not letting anybody get a word in, including not Gus. So Ted gives everybody a nickname whether he likes them or not, which is interesting. I thought that he just was being an asshole to Lucard. No, he's just a dipshit.
Because he's American. That's how Americans act. Aggressive American businessmen. That's how they act.
I mean, that's not wrong. And we're going to get to that in a second. But then the sister, Alexis, like, Dad, there's more to money. There's more to money there's more to life than just money. And he's like, spoken like someone who I pay for everything for.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And I'm like, I mean, that is legit.
I mean, until you start, I think it was until you start paying your own bills, like, you can reserve your judgment, young lady.
I'm sure somebody told that to his daughter when she complained she didn't want him to dress her in swimsuits when she was 15 or whatever. Just a couple more minutes, folks, and it'll all make sense. Okay, so here is where Ted tells Gus that he's going to take Lucard for all he's got.
And then there's all these
Europeans, they don't know how to do business, not like an American.
And then he uses all of these, like, I don't know, like, oh, I'm so cutthroat and I get right to the jugular. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
All these, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And
I don't understand how they who cast Kim Coates as a guest star on this?
I don't know.
Who was like, we need to have a really good performance on our guest star. Just once. And then the rest of the time, it's going to be fucking drivel. But just once, we want a good one. It's very weird.
When the mom turned into a vampire, she was good.
Yeah.
But regular mom, not good. Plain mom, not good.
Right, because mom needs to acknowledge that she wants to kill those kids.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you might be projecting.
No, there was a scene where she's like, I'm going to kill those kids. They'll be so much less obnoxious if they're vampires. Now, Chris whines to Max. I only have, and I take long notes on this show because it's so good. I did not take very many notes because this scene was pointless and long. It's Chris whining to Max that the ladies just want him too bad. And what can he do? He decides he's going to be gross and arrogant to get rid of them. Max is like, maybe he should be boring too.
Yeah.
But then, as Chris is wondering how he's going to be boring because he's such a cool guy. Okay, here's the problem with cool teenagers. As an uncool teenager, Slater, you could look at AC Slater and say, yeah, that guy's probably pretty cool. You do not look at Chris and say that guy's cool. Chris is less sympathetic than Screech until Screech grew up. Like, it's bad.
He's the thing. So you're comparing the two, Slater and Chris. Chris needs a couple of inches, and he doesn't have to be as muscular as Mario Lopez. Sorry, I forgot his name for a second. I almost said Mario Diaz. That's a different person. It doesn't have to be as muscular as Mario Lopez, but like he needs a little bit to be cool. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs to be like that. I'm not body shaming anybody, but he's 15. What 15-year-old is cool? They're all dorks. They're all gross. I work with a lot of 15-year-olds. My husband,
is the 15-year-old.
No, disagrees that there's like teenage boy smell. He's like, there's no such thing. And I was like, have you ever been into a room that's been occupied by 15-year-old boys for half an hour? It's disgusting.
So he hasn't gotten his 40-something smell yet? Because that's coming.
Oh, gross.
My wife can tell you about that. It's really gross.
No, Andrew, I don't need to know that.
Persimmon soap is the way to get rid of it. Okay.
little life hack for our listeners.
There you go. You have to, it's Japanese, it's expensive, but it gets rid of it. Eventually men just smell like a locker room all the time.
Ugh.
It's disgusting, according to my wife. I think I can't smell it most of the time, but sometimes I can. Okay, so Max We're still in the scene. Max then opens a comic book to read. And I could tell he had a comic book. And I was like, what is he going to be reading? He was reading Tomb of Dracula. So cool.
Nice.
Coolest in-joke the show's ever done. Not a high bar. Okay. Cut to the next day.
Oh, finally over that scene.
They're meeting before dark or before sunrise, which makes no sense because it means that Lucard got in touch with Ted and told him to come over early.
Yeah.
Lucard's like, I have a network of corporate spies to rival anyone in America. And I know that your Jersey casino has run out of money due to mismanagement. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, it's smart Trump. And it is.
I thought this exact same fucking thing.
Is smart Trump. So you're welcome, everyone. I could be making gross jokes about that fucking daughter this whole time, but I didn't. Because Ted's not as gross with Alexa. And also, there's no way he would have given up $100,000 to say Trump would give up $100,000 cash to save Ivanka's life, no matter what she's wearing.
No.
Okay. But basically, Ted has like a microchip, but he's bankrupt otherwise, which makes also no business sense because like revolutionary microchip designers are not also casino owners. Like there's no Trump microchip, right? Like,
oh God,
dude, probably, yeah, right. Like he couldn't even launch his own phone for fuck's sake.
El knows working on one though.
He's smarter than Trump, a little bit smarter than Trump, a little bit. Okay, so Lucard goes into this like laundry list of how fucked up Ted's business is and how like, no man, like you're not taking me over, I'm taking you over. And he goes over to bite him. There's claws, there's a long ass bite, and there is a commercial break.
The claw thing I thought was kind of cool because he puts his hand on dude's shoulder and the camera stays stationary and the claws grow in. There's some sort of special effect where we're seeing him change in real time instead of just like cut away and then, contacts and fangs.
Some of Lucard's vampire makeup's better this episode than usual too. And he's also got that new hair still.
Yeah.
So we are into we're in the back nine or whatever, like this is where they got the real.
That's why that's why it's been being serialized, right? They finally got their shit together. They've set up all this stuff and now they're going to turn it into a serial.
Wow us with these amazing, amazing things. Okay. So we cut to Ted running into the house or something, Gustav's house. And Gustav's like, what happened? And he's like, oh, Lucard's an animal. He tried to bite me, and then he threw me across the room.
And he's all disheveled. His shirt's untucked. His hair's all mussed up. He's real shook.
Gustav's like, well, I put some garlic in your pockets. That's why it was okay. And Ted's like, but he's a monster. He needs to be stopped. And Gustav's like, wait a second, you'll help me kill him? And this is also the scene where he should be like, he's fucking Dracula.
Yeah, where the guy's like, you need to tell me what's going on. And he's like, oh, it's too complicated. And it's like, no, it's not. He's Dracula.
I don't even think he says he's a vampire, for fuck's sake.
No.
So, but the plan, so Gustav has got this like, Gustav's only plan is you're going to distract him and I'm going to stake him.
Yeah.
That's Gustav's plan from jump. That's the only plan he's got.
Yep.
Has it ever worked?
Nope.
Spoiler alert. It won't work here either. Okay. But first we have to cut to the barn where Sophie and Alexa are talking. Is this where Alexa talks about how fucking great Chris is a little bit?
I don't think so. I think aren't they watching Chris
next.
fix
Yeah.
Aren't they watching Chris fix the chair that he broke with his booty?
Yes. So Chris is fixing the chair and Max is there. And Chris has decided he wants to devote his whole life to furniture. And so what we're now going to get is cuts between Gustav and Ted trying to bait Lucard with Chris talking about furniture to bore the girls, to the point that they both walk out and tell him that he's boring. Sophie at one point tells him to stop talking about furniture, which is kind of funny.
I thought that was kind of funny. I also love Max in this role of like anti-wingman, where he's like, oh Jesus, not this again. Like rolling his eyes and sighing deeply. Which he doesn't need to be doing because the girls are already annoyed that he's being so boring.
Yeah, this Max has been doing better lately, I would say, just because he's stopped being the lead of the episode, so they've reduced him having 27-year-old girlfriends and they just have made it more appropriate, 23 to 15. Okay, so Alexa follows Sophie out and asks Sophie for lady help.
Yeah.
See, Alexa's parents are divorced, and so they're moving over here, and Chris and Alexa decided to get back together yesterday, but Chris is weird today. Does he have another girlfriend here that he's serious about? I'm a 23-year-old woman asking a 15-year-old about our shared love interest.
Again,
and Sophie's like, no.
She's playing a teenage girl.
I'm just
reminding the listener.
I'm
reminding the listener.
A pervo high school teacher is asking the girl in her class to help her hook up with the boy in the girl student to help her hook up with a boy student. So Sophie's like, no, he doesn't have a girlfriend as far as I know.
And she seems disappointed, and there's an emotional element to it where she's being mature and answering the question.
Yeah.
But she's sad and surprised that they got back together, even though that was never really established.
Right, because we saw that scene, and Chris just basically has not told her that he's not interested. He's not told Alexa he's not interested. Okay, so it's also unclear why Chris would have ever broken up with Alexa.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. Because he's like, man, you're 23. This is fucking weird. Like, we can't go to the same movies. Okay. So then we get Gustav and Ted's plan. Here it is. The big plan is Ted's going to throw holy water on Dracula, and Gustav's going to run out and stake him.
Again, this is a time when a crossbow would come in real handy.
They had crossbows at one point.
I feel like they did. Yeah.
Okay. So then we cut to the chateau at night. Chris is walking around. Sophie comes out and is like, you left a note on my pillow to meet you here. What's going on? And Chris is like, Sophie, I've got a lot of things I've got to say to you. And enter Max and Alexa. Max was supposed to take Sophie anywhere but the chateau. Alexa. Didn't I say that?
You said Sophie. So Max was supposed to take Alexa anywhere but the chateau. This was the mistake that I had made in the previous scene. And is mad that now he's trying to talk to Sophie without Alexa there, even though isn't Alexa staying with her dad at some point? Like, can't that she just go back to her hotel or whatever and not be with the girl all the time?
Gustav put garlic in old boy's pockets? Are they staying with Gustav?
Maybe. But they never established that. But this girl is just the house guest that won't leave. And so they have to keep her occupied so they can have private time because Chris likes Sophie. And he wants to tell her, but he can't because there they come, walking down the street.
Chris calls Max a low-grade defective, which is probably problematic, but I thought it was a pretty good zinger for 1990. But then they notice Alexa's dad's on the other side of the chateau.
They notice Lucard. They don't know who the other man is right away. Okay. They notice Lucard and they're like, oh, that poor man who's with him. We should go save him. And then it's not until the guy starts talking that they realize that it's Alexa's dad. It was very strange. I was like, why doesn't she recognize her father? Like, even in relative darkness, there's enough light that you can recognize your father.
She asks why. They're like, we should go get Uncle Gustav. And then Alexa's like, why is he so dangerous? The answer is, believe me, he just is.
Yeah.
We're not telling people
Again.
he's a fucking vampire anymore.
It seems like the more people you tell, the more likely you can run him out of town. I don't know.
Well, he owns the police, don't forget.
All right.
Okay, so Lucard and Ted are doing a swap, money for the microchip.
Right.
But then they're interrupted by Alexa running across, going, Daddy! So Gustav runs out with the stake, gets thrown, hits his head. I wanted him to be dead so bad. He's fucking fine.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know how he's fine. I've seen enough true crime to know that, you can kill somebody and say that they hit their head on a rock, the only rock in this field, by the way.
You can push somebody down a staircase and say that she hit her head on a stair and be like,
yeah.
Or it was an owl, Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, he hits his head on a rock, and so he's out of commission for the next couple minutes while
for the scene, basically, right?
yeah, while it gets resolved. It's almost like you've not seen the First Doctor, right? The first any of the episodes with the First Doctor on Doctor Who, the old ones.
No.
Okay. He in his last few episodes, I think the last serial, he's really, really sick. And so essentially he's out of commission for most of the episode. And it's because the actor was actually really sick. So it made me think of that. It was like, is this guy okay? Because this happens to him a lot, where he just gets distracted, gets knocked out, gets
spends an entire episode crawling across a floor. Yeah.
Or gets put in a fucking dungeon.
Oh, yeah. He's been in the dungeon at least twice. Yeah. Maybe 3 times. We really should have been keeping track. When you rewatch this to write a definitive episode guide, you can keep track. Okay. Yeah. So Dad is trying. So Lucard grabs Alexa. Dad is trying to take the money.
Right.
And the chip.
Yeah.
Lucard's like, dude, give me the chip. And Dad's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, and the fucking briefcase. And Dad's looking at the daughter like, But unlike Trump, he gives Lucard the briefcase.
He does.
He's like, I'll be ruined. And Lucard's like, I don't give a shit. Like, why would I fucking care if you were ruined? And I'm like, why would any of us care if you did?
Yeah.
Like, you suck. Yeah. But Chris is making a plan.
And you see him sneaking around in the background. And you see that the dad sees him too.
Everybody in this, or Chris, Max, and Sophie, will all have crosses, which is very convenient since they never seem to have them when they're actually fighting Lucard.
They always need to go back to the house to get to the backpack that has all of the gear. Very weird. Except when Max is being chased by that other pedophile guy, the Boffin. He had a cross.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Recurring theme on this show. Okay. Dad throws holy water on Dracula. Oh, but first, Dracula was going to attack Alexa. What?
Yeah. So the Dracula wrestles with the dad, and the holy water actually falls on the ground, and Chris picks it up later.
Oh, wow, Dad's useless.
Yeah, Dad is completely
so Chris
useless.
saves the day. Lucard starts steaming, possibly because he was wearing another suit on top of his existing clothes, so they could put dry ice down his collar. And then he's like, oh, you got me. I've had enough profit for one night. And he bats away. And everybody's like, oh, look at all the bats.
So I'm going to depart from my normal strategy here of defending the actress who is playing a teenage girl, and recognize that if this 23-year-old Canadian actress were bitten by Dracula and turned into a vampire, it would be this gorgeous family that I would love. Throw the mom in there too. Hell, let's make it a poly family. They can all live happily and be beautiful vampires with big hair and glamorous outfits. I think that would be great. I had that thought in that scene when she was captured. I was like, oh, she could become a vampire and it would be so glamorous. But back to the story.
And she does not.
No.
I thought she was going to be a damsel the whole thing because I didn't think dad was going to be part of the thing. Okay, so they check out. So Sophie's sad seeing Alexa hug Chris. She's like, I can't wait till I'm 23 and I can find a 15-year-old boy
to manipulate.
Yeah. So then Gustav wakes up and is like, oh, what happened? I missed it.
Did I miss everything? Oh. And they don't take him to a hospital. He just bashed his head on a rock and passed out for 2 minutes. Take him to the hospital. Jesus Christ. And there's no blood. There's also no blood.
So then Sophie and Chris have their moment.
But
Sophie interrupts Chris as he is about to tell her that she is his choice to say, Alexa, talk to me, and I want you two to be together. She doesn't exactly say that, but like
it's
Chris also
like
never says.
Yeah. It's like, I'm okay with your decision to get back together with her. I'm going to be the mature person here, which is totally not a 15-year-old reaction to this situation. Nor should it be.
What about when she says it's like the end of Casablanca?
That's true.
Which I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out which one of you watched Casablanca. My other note is so much music, so much bad music this episode.
Yeah,
so much bad music.
Didn't you say that a young actress came to your workplace and talked to you about movies once? Fellini movies?
Yes. Yes.
So maybe she did. Maybe she did watch Casablanca. I saw it when I was a teenager.
But she pronounced it right. She pronounced it right. And this young actress did not pronounce it right. Where are the Fellini movies?
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to cut this part, but I wonder if that's what cost her the audition with Woody. Moving on. Who else is going to have you watch Fellini?
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. I'm trying to imagine what. I wonder what movie it was, though.
I think it was Woody. When in Rome. I think it was probably When in Rome.
Okay. Well, that would make sense then.
Yeah. Fucking. Woody Allen, Will Gibson, all these motherfuckers just bad. Oh, kill them all.
Yay!
Moving on.
Woo, Women's History Month. Yay!
Women's History Month. Her story. Moving on. We get our tag scene is Ted going to Lucard's the next day and being like, "Hey, Lucard, you out businessmaned me, and I've been left with nothing. Are you still interested in getting into the American market? Because I'll be your guy." And Lucard's like, sure. And so then he bites him using the fang shot from before. Yep. And so presumably Dad is now, if not a full vampire, a zombie.
Yeah.
And I guess he's going back to the States. Does that mean Alexa's going back to the States, or is she going to stay and be a terrible cast addition to this
I don't
show?
think she's going to be in the cast anymore. Maybe she's going to start school early in the summer still. I don't think she comes back for any more, unfortunately.
Right, because once Sophie and Chris get together, Max will be about the right age for her.
She is not listed in the next episode, at least. So that's good.
Something. So, what do we have next time?
So next episode is called My Fair Vampire. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God, no. It looks like there's a nod to My Fair Lady. But it's episode 16. We're one episode closer to the end. That's all I got to say. That's about it. I didn't hate this episode, but it wasn't good, and there was too much going on for...
There's too much going on.
A 22-minute episode.
It's not... I hate to say this, but Geordie's sort of stabilized.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Geordie has the back nine have been kind to
yeah, I would agree with that. And Max.
And Max. But Max, the reason Max is stabilized is because he's just comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
He does not run a plot anymore. Gustav's kind of the outside the pedophilia, the recurring theme of adults being fixated on teenagers. That this show is just. They initially were about guys following backs around, and now it's just about boys, men and women who really like the teens on this show. So
Yeah.
but I mean, I guess if you're a libertarian, it's just your fucking jam. But
And I am.
I don't listen to the episodes, folks. I don't know if she left it in or not. It'll be a mystery.
It'll be a mystery.
We start when Joe Rogan wants us on.
I suspect that if I were a libertarian, we would not be doing this podcast. If you knew.
I suspect that if you were a libertarian, we wouldn't be friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I suspect if you had been a libertarian, would we?
This whole time.
No,
This whole
no.
time. Yeah.
Don't be friends with libertarians, people. They're terrible. Sorry.
And you know what? They would support your choice, your individual choice to not be their friend.
Oddly, you'd think they would, but they actually wouldn't. They complain that libertarianism is actually really smart, and I just don't understand it.
Well,
and now, thankfully, we have that one fucking town where they went all libertarian and the bears fucking ate them. As
yay!
You know, as they should.
Is that what Cocaine Bear is about?
It's not actually, but there was some town where they bankrupted everything, and the bears eventually like raided the town.
Nice.
So, that does not happen next episode either because they can't afford bears. Not that type of bear. Anyway, so moving on.
Moving on.
I guess we'll just be back next week.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with episode 16 of Dracula the series, My Fair Vampire. Thank you for listening. Andrew, I'll see you in Television Land.
See you in Television Land, Emily.
Bye-bye.